This is Kunle Amzat Studio, Agidigbo 88.7 FM. Welcome to News Around the World.
Good evening. Welcome to the news around the world on the most listened to radio station, Agidigbo 88.7 FM Ibadan. I am Oluwatosin Ologun. First headlines. Tinubu signs 68.3 trillion naira 2026 budget extend 2025 spending deadline. Balogun urges Olubadan to avoid partisan politics, uphold office dignity. Europe Energy Boss warns country has maybe 6 weeks of jet fuel left. Kenya requests emergency World Bank funds to cushion Iran world shocks. Pep Guardiola admits if Man City lose to Arsenal, the EPL title is over. Now the details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the 2026 appropriation bill into law, authorizing an aggregate expenditure of 68.2 trillion naira for the current fiscal year, and also signed a separate bill extending the implementation period of the 2026 budget from March 31 to June 30, 2026. The budget allocates 4.799 trillion naira for statutory transfers and 15.8 trillion naira for debt service. It further sets aside 15.4 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure and 32.2 trillion naira for capital expenditure through the development fund. The presidency made a disclosure in a statement signed by Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Chief Bayo Onanuga today, and it also said President Bola Tinubu has assented the 2026 appropriation bill, which provides for aggregate expenditure of 68.32 trillion naira. The Balogun of Ibadan land, Oba Tajuddin Ajibola, has urged the Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja, to uphold the dignity of his office by steering clear of partisan politics. Oba Ajibola gave the advice during a press conference held at his palace in the Sonyo area of Ibadan, emphasizing the need for the paramount traditional ruler to maintain his prestigious position above political interest. Agidigbo FM News correspondent Oluwapemi Bamidele was at the press conference held at the palace of Oba Tajuddin Ajibola. Here is the report.
The palace of the Balogun of Ibadan land, Oba Tajuddin Ajibola, became a hub of activity today as he hosted journalists from across Oyo State to discuss the recent development in political scene in the states. Addressing journalists during a press conference held at his palace at Sanyo, Ibadan, the Balogun of Ibadan land, Oba Tajuddin Ajibola expressed concern over the political feud allegedly involving the Olubadan of Ibadan land and some top politicians. The monarch, however, expressed confidence that the dispute would be amicably resolved, stressing that the highly revered Olubadan stole must maintain non-partisan to preserve the respect and integrity of the traditional institution.
Since he assumed office, he has made many of us millionaires. For those who don't know, I've been on this line for about 40 years now. More. I've been climbing the show. Sadimabi started it. Chimakede gave a double it. I made us millionaire. What does Obama? We don't have anything for the Bala, except when we have Magaji of them. And that's been on. But make sure we do very well, we dress very well, and that we are recognized and record with.
The Balogun also cautioned the Heir Karun of Ibadan land Senator Sharafaddin Ali, who represents Oyo South Senatorial District, to either concentrate on partisan politics or remain committed to his responsibilities with the Ibadan traditional hierarchy. Oba Tajuddin Ajibola maintained that the Olubadan office must not be drawn into political tussles, noting that the revered stool symbolizes unity and tradition in Ibadan land.
So if somebody that is automatically is a member of your council of Obas, that law made him a member automatically. Whether they tell him or not, they can decide it any time. And that's your state. So it's for him to choose between the constitutional rights or the state right. If you want to serve his state, let him serve. If you want to serve himself, let him serve himself.
While commending the Oyo State Governor, Engineer Oluseyi Abiodun Makinde, for his support for the Olubadan and other traditional councils in the state, Oba Ajibola described him as a magnanimous leader who has significantly elevated the status of traditional rulers, particularly the Olubadan Council. The monarch further emphasized the need to safeguard the traditional institution from actions that could undermine its integrity, urging all stakeholders to uphold its long-standing values of neutrality and unity. The monarch also expressed confidence that the ongoing political feud allegedly involving the Olubadan of Ibadan land and top politicians would be amicably resolved. The event was attended by the Alakinyele of Akinyele, Oba Dreams Odediran, and several baales from the ancient city of Ibadan. Oluwapemi Bamidele, Agidigbo FM News.
The Oyo State Police Command have paraded 16 suspects arrested for various offences, including armed robbery, kidnapping, ritual activities, vehicle theft, and hijacking as part of efforts to secure lives and properties of citizens. The State Commissioner of Police, CP Abimbola Ayodeji Olubenga, who briefed newsmen at the command headquarters, Eleyele Ibadan, said the arrests were made across different parts of the state through intelligence-led operations and sustained surveillance. A Gidwa FM News correspondent, Oluwapemi Bamidele, was present during the parade. Here is the report.
The Oyo State Commissioner of Police, CP Abimbola Olubenga, has reaffirmed the command's commitment to protecting lives and property through proactive and intelligence-driven policing. Speaking during his maiden press briefing, the commissioner emphasized that the command has strengthened its operational strategies through collaboration with other security agencies and support from residents. CP Olubenga noted that the recent operations have led to the arrest of suspected criminals involved in armed robbery, kidnapping, ritual activities, and vehicle theft across Ibadan and other parts of the state.
The case of armed robbery was transferred from Akojopo Division to the Command Monitoring Unit, Ibadan. The investigation revealed that while operatives were on stop and search duty at Community Akojopo area, Ibadan, they accosted a motorcycle. Immediately, the pillion sighted the policeman, he jumped off and attempted to escape, but was apprehended after a road chase. The suspect, Adeyemi Abiodun Michael, was arrested and one pump action, 6 live cartridges, 2 exploded cartridges, phones, and other valuable items were found in his possession.
Among major breakthrough was the arrest of a suspected vehicle theft syndicate member found with 9 master keys used to steal cars from parking locations within Ibadan Metropolis. Further investigation led to the arrest of a receiver with 5 stolen vehicles of different models recovered. In another operation, police arrested 4 members of a highway robbery gang, recovered the pump-action gun, live cartridges.
Subsequently, the victims were invited to the monitoring unit where they provide detailed accounts and useful intelligence. Discreet investigation and sustained intelligence gathering led to the arrest of 3 members of the syndicate in their respective hideouts. The suspect confessed to the crimes and admitted to being armed with AK-47 rifle, which they claim were in possession of fleeing members of the gang.
The command also dismantled a cross-state armed robbery syndicate operating between Oyo and Osun states, arresting the gang leader and recovering locally made firearms. In Ogbomoso, 2 suspects were apprehended for attacking a commercial motorcyclist and disposing him of his motorcycle and valuables. Similarly, operatives arrested suspected ritualists in Ibadan, recovering items believed to be human body parts, including substance suspected to be used for ritual purposes.
The command wishes to reiterate its unwavering commitment to sustaining this momentum. We will continue to intensify our operations, strengthen intelligence gathering mechanism, and ensure that all those involved in criminal activities are brought to justice in accordance with the law.
In a major breakthrough, the command disrupted a notorious kidnapping syndicate responsible for multiple abductions in Oyo town and surrounding communities. In a separate development, operative intercepted a truck conveying 497 bags of maize meant for presidential food security intervention, which had been hijacked and diverted. Other arrests include suspected motorcycle thieves, an armed robbery suspect found with firearm during a stop-and-search operation, and recovery of a stolen vehicle abandoned by fleeing robbers. CP Olugbenga called on residents to continue supporting the police with timely and credible information, stressing that security remains a collective responsibility. Oluwapemi Bamidele, Agidigbo FM News.
Today being the last day of Shawwal 1447, the chief imam of Agidigbo FM, Alhaji Yunus Baba, addressed worshippers at the Agidigbo FM Mosque, urging them to embrace the fear of God in all their dealings. In his sermon, the chief imam stressed that the fear of Allah is essential and should serve as a guiding principle for every believer, as he described it as a responsibility that all faithful Muslims must uphold.
If you have the fear of God, everything you do, God will accept it. In Quran 5, verse 27, Allah tells us that the fear of Allah will make us have good reward. In Quran 79, verse 128, fear of God used to make us successful. In Quran 19, verse 72, if someone has the fear of God, God will give you mercy. Allah will make everything easy for us if we have the fear of God.
Alhaji Yunus further reminded the congregation that the fear of Allah brings guidance, mercy, and success, urging them to hold firmly to it in their daily lives. Now it's time to link up with our United Kingdom studio for the foreign news.
News from Kule Amza Studio, Agidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Zikrot Fasasi. Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Darren Jones, said Starmer was furious that the Foreign Office overruled our recommendations by security experts not to clear Peter Mandelson to become UK ambassador to the United States. The Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Sir Keir Starmer, whom had previously told MPs that full due process was followed in the appointment process, will face MPs on Monday in a critical moment for his premiership. As Jones acknowledged, Starmer did not lie to MPs, as he is not aware that the former Labour grantee was granted developed vetting against the advice of UK security vetting until Tuesday night and will not quit over Peter Mandelson's scandal. Jones further stressed that he has suspended the rights for the Foreign Office and a small number of other organizations to overrule recommendations from UK security vetting. The head of International Energy Agency, IEA, has warned the stock would reach a tipping point in June if Europe was unable to replace at least half of its import from the Middle East, as Europe has just about 6 weeks of jet fuel left. The Strait of Hormuz, which is a key route for jet fuel out of the Gulf, has been effectively closed by Iran for more than 6 weeks in response to US and Israeli attacks, causing hike in petrol and diesel prices and prompting fears of shortages. IEA Executive Director Faith Bureau has thereby said there could soon be flight cancellations if supplies remain blocked. And that is the news from Kule Amza Studio, Agidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Zikrot Fasasi.
Welcome back. We shall also be moving to our Maryland studio, United States, for more foreign news.
News from Kule Amzat Studio, Agidigbo FM, United States. I am Oluwatosin Sonya. The Strait of Hormuz has reopened to all commercial shipping following a ceasefire agreement involving Lebanon, Iran, and the United States, according to Iranian officials. Oil prices fell shortly after the announcement, although Iran noted that vessels would be required to follow a coordinated route, which shipping analysts said likely refers to lanes running close to its coastline. U.S. President Donald Trump reacted in a social media post saying Iran had declared the waterway fully open and thanking Tehran for the move. However, in a separate post, Trump said the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports would remain in place until negotiations on a broader peace agreement are 100% complete. Kenya has sought urgent financial assistance from the World Bank to cushion its economy against shocks linked to the Iran war, according to its central bank governor. Like many energy important nations, the East African country is racing to prevent shortages of key commodities such as fuel, while also trying to contain rising costs that could fuel inflation. Kenya is the first major emerging economy to publicly confirm a formal request to the World Bank, though several others, including Egypt, have indicated that they have turned to multilateral lenders for support. Meanwhile, International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said at least 12 countries have approached the fund for help in dealing with the crisis. And that is the news from Kule Amzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United States. I am Oluwatosin Sonya.
Welcome back once again. In the exciting world of sports, Pep Guardiola said an Arsenal victory at Manchester City on Sunday would end the Premier League title race, but his side would have a lot more work to do even if they beat the Gunners. Mikel Arteta's men hold a 6-point lead at the top of the table, but City have home advantage and a game in hand on the leaders. Should Guardiola's side win the battle between the top two and at struggling Burnley on Wednesday, they would go top for the first time in months. However, Guardiola is wary of the challenge facing his side in the coming weeks, with tricky visits to Everton and Bournemouth in the run-in, while Arsenal have also faced the extra strain of edging past Sporting Lisbon to reach the Champions League semi-finals in midweek, while City have had 7 days to prepare. The Super Sunday Premier League cracker between Manchester City and Arsenal will kickstart at the Etihad Stadium for the home ground of Manchester City come 4:30 p.m. To wrap up the news this evening, here's a recap of the headlines. Tinubu signs 68.32 trillion naira 2026 budget, extends 2025 spending deadline. Balogun urges Olubadan to avoid partisan politics, uphold office dignity. Europe energy boss warns country has maybe 6 weeks of jet fuel left. Kenya requests emergency World Bank funds to cushion Iran war shocks. Pep Guardiola admits if Man City lose to Arsenal, the EPL title is over. And before we go this evening, here's a quick tip. One book, one pen, one child, and one teacher can change the world. Finally, we have come to the end of the news around the world on the most listened to radio station at Gidigbo 88.7 FM Ibadan. I am Oluwatosin Ologun. Thank you for listening. Good evening.
News is information, and information